Severe weather. It affects your life.
Within minutes, you can go from clear skies to a tornado-producing thunderstorm.
Your family.
Big wind, tree came down.
Your animals.
Kind of looks like a machine gun just went off.
Your property.
Put a nice hole in the front of the garage.
Tonight, a special report from our statewide team of meteorologists. Weathering the big sky. A Weather Authority special report.
Hi, I'm Larry Rice, and I'm the meteorologist for Wake Up Montana, our 2-hour morning newscast seen all across Montana on the Coles Media Montana network of stations. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to share some great information with you about weather in Montana and also give you and your family a peek behind the scenes at some of the science and the TV magic that goes into putting together the weathercasts you watch on TV every day. This is my office, the Weather Authority Command Center, which has a number of computers that gather data, satellite images, radar images, and various computer forecast models. We spend a couple of hours at the start of each shift gathering data and looking at those various computer models, trying to determine not only what the weather will be for the next 24 hours, but for the next 7 days. On Wake Up Montana, we provide the forecast for all of Montana, as well as Cody, Sheridan, and other cities in northern Wyoming who depend on our station for daily forecasts. In addition, we have our radar computer called Big Sky Viper, which taps into a network of 5 powerful Doppler radars capable of tracking storms all across the region. By the way, in case you're wondering what Viper is, it's a fancy acronym for Volumetric Image Processing of Integrated Radar. Now, that doesn't mean much to you, but it provides us with a wealth of information on everything from tracking snow and rain amounts and intensity to whether a thunderstorm has the potential of producing large hail, damaging winds, or even a tornado. The part of our job that may be the coolest is the TV magic of the green screen. We're able to take an image, any television image, and insert that wherever there is green, making it seem like there's a picture behind us. We look at monitors in front and to the side to know what's actually going out on your TV screen. It's the same magic that Hollywood uses for its special effects. While our day-to-day job is forecasting the weather for later today, tomorrow, and beyond, sometimes we're on the air covering weather that is happening at the moment, possibly a winter storm or severe thunderstorms. We don't call that forecasting. We call that nowcasting. And meteorologist Kyle Pickens explains how we stay on top of weather that is happening right now.
Western portions of Yellowstone County.
Meteorologists will issue various alerts to let the public know about potentially hazardous weather. The most important alerts to know are watches and warnings. These are issued for a variety of weather events, but today we're talking about severe weather.
Watches and warnings are issued for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes when we're talking about severe weather. Now, a thunderstorm is called severe when it produces hail of at least an inch in diameter, which is about the size of a quarter, or when it has wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour, or both. When a storm meets these criteria, a severe thunderstorm warning is issued for the areas directly in that storm's path. A severe thunderstorm watch is issued for a much wider area when conditions in that area are favorable to support severe thunderstorms for at least the next 12 hours. Similarly, a tornado watch is issued for an area when conditions are right that storms in that area could produce tornadoes in the next 12 hours, and a tornado warning is issued when radar has picked up a tornado inside of a storm or when a tornado is reported by a reliable spotter. But where do these alerts come from exactly?
Severe weather watches, which include severe thunderstorm and tornado watches, are issued by the Storm Prediction Center, or SPC, in Norman, Oklahoma. Some of the best meteorologists in the country work in the SPC. This one office watches the weather over the entire country and issues watches when conditions warrant them. Warnings, however, are issued by individual National Weather Service weather forecast offices. Each office is working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring the weather, good and bad, for its area of responsibility. But what would cause the SPC to decide to issue a watch?
Lift instability and moisture are the key ingredients to get thunderstorms to form. And then depending on what other type of parameters come together, they will make a decision whether to issue a severe thunderstorm watch, or we have tornado watches, the various types of watches. And that all really comes down to the wind shear in the atmosphere.
Okay, what's that mean?
Making storms is like making a cake. You need all the right ingredients to come together, like lift, which is rising motion in the air, humidity, and wind shear, which is a change in the speed and direction of the wind as you go up. And like milk, flour, and eggs in a cake, you need all those ingredients to come together in the right amounts.
So basically, the SPC looks for the areas where these ingredients are coming together and lets everyone know what to look out for. We get these in the form of outlooks, general forecasts for where to watch for severe weather. It's up to the local NWS offices to watch any storms that do develop for signs that they will become severe.
We're really digging into all these individual storms that are out there across our area to find out what key elements could be produced out of that storm, and that's when we decide to issue warnings that, if there are indications of large hail damaging winds or circulations with a tornado.
Things like radar and satellite can pick up large hail and signs of rotation inside storms. When a meteorologist sees these signs, they know to alert the public. But the public can also help the NWS stay informed. It's a program called SkyWarn, and many regular people volunteer for it.
These folks, again, are trained to identify a severe thunderstorm and then report that information back to us so we can utilize it in our warnings.
So with lots of modern technology, the right expertise, and some help from the general public, meteorologists, both on and off camera, are constantly keeping watch for hazardous weather. With more on how these alerts can reach the public, here's meteorologist Sarah Sanchez.
Weather can change in an instant across the varied terrain of our great state. Whether you're out and about in town, at home, or working outside, staying alert when weather strikes is important. It can keep you and your family safe, and it can save lives.
Well, now is the time to start preparing.
Tom Frieders, the warning coordination specialist with the National Weather Service in Billings, offers advice on how to stay connected to important weather alerts.
And there are various means you can do that.
First, you can receive emergency alerts on your television through broadcast media and emergency alert scrolls. You're probably familiar with those. You can sign up for alerts on your phone via weather apps. Just make sure you have those features turned on and you allow push notifications. If you have a smartphone, there's an even easier way to stay alert.
So the wireless emergency alert system is something fairly new for those people that have the newer smartphones.
Government-issued alerts can be accessed by turning them on under notifications or settings on your smartphone. Frieders says the National Weather Service will only issue tornado and flash flood warnings right to your phone.
We're kind of preserving the wireless emergency alerts for the most serious type warnings that really could impact life, and those include tornado warnings and flash flood warnings.
When your TV is off or your cell phone isn't handy, the NOAA Weather Radio is the best way to receive information.
It's that direct link to the National Weather Service and all of our watches and warnings.
A weather radio is about $30. Code in your county number, plug the radio in, or pop in some batteries, and you'll be notified of any alerts impacting your county.
That will actually sound a little alert on your radio and turn the radio on to alert you that there's hazardous weather going to impact your area.
Frieders says for rural areas, portable radios work great.
We have transmitters all across the country, actually.
Whether it's a weather radio or an app on your smartphone or alerts on your TV, there are plenty of options so you can stay alert. It's up to you to choose which option fits best for your family to stay safe.
Winter, summer, spring, or fall, it's always a great time to be outdoors here in Montana, and there's so much to do. But when you do get outdoors here in Montana, you quickly learn that the weather has to be respected because it can turn deadly fast. Since 2006, NOAA reported that 64% of lightning deaths happened when people were participating in leisure activities. Fishing topped the list with 15, 14 for boating, 12 for soccer, and 8 for golf. So what can you do to stay safe when severe weather strikes? Well, the first thing you can do is not get into trouble in the first place, and you can do that by watching the forecast. This is one of my favorite places to be. My day job means I'm supposed to stay in touch with the weather, but I don't always check the forecast when I go out on the bicycle. So I'll carry one of these little gizmos with me. It's a weather radio, and it can give me as much as 30 minutes warning before severe weather strikes. But if I'm caught in a storm with no place to go, the best thing to do is get off the bike and find a low ditch like this one. You get off the bike because even a carbon bike has metal, and that can attract lightning. Once the storm is gone, I can get back on the bike and head home to dry off. Now, runners don't have as much room to carry a radio like I do on a bike, but pretty much everybody running around has got their phone with them, so if it's a smartphone, you can get a weather app, and if a severe weather alert pops up in your area, it'll let you know. Of course, not everybody likes to go running or riding their bicycle. Here in Montana, a lot of people like to hit the links. Now, before you tee off, you really ought to check the forecast. But the good news is there's plenty of room in your golf bag for a weather radio. So let's say you're out playing golf and you're away from the clubhouse and this goes off. First thing to do, get away from your golf clubs because they are metal after all. Also, do your shoes have those metal cleats on them? You're going to have to take your shoes off too. The other thing to do, ditch the watch, ditch the sunglasses, and then find a ditch to hide in or to hide away from the lightning until the storm passes. Then you can head back to the clubhouse and dry off. If you're out in your car and you get caught in a storm, the best thing to do is stay in your car. It is on rubber wheels after all, and if the car's made of metal, well, chances are you're going to be safe. Now, some backcountry vehicles are not made of metal. They're made of fiberglass. In that case, you're going to want to shut off the motor and sit in the center of the car with your hands in your lap, not touching like the door handle or anything else that's metal. The last thing is even a metal car can be struck by lightning, but it's still the safest place you can be. Camping is big here in Montana. It is so nice to get outside, get away from the internet, the phone, texting, email. Thing is, when you've unplugged from the internet, you might not know about the development of severe weather. So here's a few things you can do to stay safe in the storm. Avoid water, open spaces, all metallic objects, high ground, and solitary tall trees. Your tent is not safe in a thunderstorm. Tents can be struck directly when they're out in the open. If you have metal in the tent, then it's a more attractive target for lightning. Try to find groups of shrubs or trees of uniform height. Ditches, trenches, and low ground is best. Another favorite Montana activity is boating. Now, if you're out on your boat and shore is close by, when a thunderstorm appears, get into shore quickly. Of course, the best rule is if severe weather is predicted, don't even go out that day. If shore is out of reach, remove all metal jewelry and piercings. Put on a life jacket and get low in the center of the boat. Definitely stay out of the water. Your bobbing head becomes a target. But your best bet is to stay at the dock if thunderstorms are forecast. Every boat skipper should know the forecast before even thinking of casting off. And now here's Melinda with more on staying safe indoors.
Now, Montana follows the 2012 International Building Code. That's for commercial buildings. Now, as for private homes, it follows a similar residential code. Experts argue that these guidelines are in place to make buildings more sustainable, efficient, and to ultimately lower costs. Each state follows one set of rules when it comes to setting up a structure. It's called the International Building Code. However, David Cook, who's the bureau chief of the Montana Buildings Code Bureau in Helena, says that the code is adopted locally by jurisdictions and modified as needed here in Montana. Then the code is updated on a national level every 3 years.
This is a particular type of policy making that will affect a large group of people, not only on the public safety side, but also on the construction and design side.
So what do these codes say about weather, including high winds, snowfall, and even earthquakes? Well, the codes are pretty specific about all three. Let's start with high winds. In Montana, low occupancy buildings, like agricultural ones, must be constructed to sustain winds of 105 miles per hour, whereas high occupancy buildings, like police stations and hospitals, must withstand winds of 120 miles per hour. Cook says he often gets asked why some buildings survive disasters while others do not.
And everybody shouts at the TV and says, I want to be that guy that, didn't get burned up or didn't get, blown away or didn't get washed away. And that's what this code can do. It creates a possibility that you can evacuate, take your animals with you, and come back and still have a house.
The code states that buildings must sustain snow loads ranging from 200 pounds per square foot in places like Bay Sky Resort and 30 pounds per square foot in places like Great Falls and Helena. As for seismic activity, Cook says that like snow loads, the code contains specific information for various locations around the state. In February, the state adopted a separate code that deals with fire hazards. That's called the Wildland Urban Interface Code. And if you're a builder, you need to reference all of these codes before setting up your structure. Reporting in Great Falls, I'm Melinda Zosh. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Montana typically experiences 4 types of severe weather in the spring: lightning, strong winds, some large hail, as well as a few tornadoes. Our statewide team of meteorologists will explain the cause and effect of these conditions. That's next in this Weather Authority special report.
There are a lot of different aspects to severe weather, so our statewide team is going to break them down for you. Let's start with tornadoes.
Tornadoes are basically vortices, rotating columns of air. They just rotate really quickly, and they're relatively compact compared to other areas of rotating air we have. Now, tornadoes are more common in what we call supercell thunderstorms. Very, very large, very strong, very powerful thunderstorms that have what is called a mesocyclone. That is a rotating updraft. And an updraft is just a current of air that flows up and into a storm, feeding it. Think of it like the engine of a car. That's basically what an updraft is. Now, rotating air can happen for a variety of reasons in and around a storm. In fact, it typically happens around most thunderstorms. What happens in tornadoes with supercells is that rotating updraft tends to move over that rotating column of air. What that does is it kind of acts like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks up that air a little bit. It makes it stretch out up and down, and that makes that air spin a little bit faster and faster and faster. The further it gets stretched, the faster it spins. Think of a figure skater on the ice. When she stretches her arms out, she spins slower. When she pulls them in, she spins faster. Or a person in an office chair doing that too. Same principle. And that tends to happen over these really strong storms, and what ends up happening is that as that air gets stretched more and more and more, it spins faster and faster and faster, and much like this here, we get ourselves a tornado.
And now here's meteorologist Larry Rice with some information about lightning.
Many people know the obvious danger of standing under a tree, but surprisingly, it's still the second leading cause of lightning casualties. So, is it okay if I crouch down? Nope. Myth. Crouching doesn't make you any safer, nor does lying down flat, which increases your chance of being zapped by deadly ground current. If you are caught outside, keep moving quickly toward a safe shelter. That could be your car. Most vehicles are safe from lightning, thanks to the metal roof and metal sides. When lightning hits a vehicle, it goes through the metal frame into the ground. But if you're in a convertible or a vehicle with a fiberglass shell, you have virtually no protection from lightning, and it has nothing to do with those rubber tires. What kind of structures attract lightning? Well, it depends on the height, pointy shape, and isolation. A tree or a wooden totem pole will conduct electricity just as easily as a metal flagpole. The presence of metal makes absolutely no difference on where lightning strikes. What about your home? A house is a safe place to be during a thunderstorm as long as you avoid anything that conducts electricity, like corded phones, appliances, computers, plumbing, metal doors, and windows. Another myth: no rain means no lightning. The fact is, lightning can occur when it's not raining and often strikes more than 3 miles from the center of the thunderstorm. That term, bolt from the blue, is not a myth. Lightning can typically strike 10 to 15 miles from the center of a thunderstorm, and NASA's documented anvil lightning bolts traveling more than 75 miles. So, when you hear the rumble, you and your family should hustle to safety. While it may sound hokey, the National Weather Service has a good rule to remember. When thunder roars, go indoors.
Another dangerous component of thunderstorms is hail. Hail causes damage to property and crops. A single hailstone can reach speeds of up to 120 miles an hour. And here is how hail forms. The inside of a thunderstorm has strong updrafts of warm air and downdrafts of cold air. If a water droplet is picked up by the updrafts, it can be carried well above that freezing level. At 32 degrees, our water droplet freezes. As the frozen droplet begins to fall, it may thaw as it moves into warmer air toward the bottom of the thunderstorm. But our little half-frozen droplet may also get picked up again by another updraft, carrying it back into the very cold air and refreezing it. With each trip above and below the freezing level, our frozen droplet adds another layer of ice. Finally, our frozen water droplet with many layers of ice falls to the ground as hail. And that's how hail forms. Now here's meteorologist Tracy Smith with a look at another severe weather risk that plagues the whole state, especially the Paradise Valley.
What you might call a windy day is just a breezy day in Livingston, Montana. On an average day, the winds are blowing at about 16 miles per hour, but the highest wind ever recorded was set back in 1978 at 108 miles per hour.
So what makes Livingston the unofficial wind capital of Montana? Pressure difference. Typically, low pressure would be located in central Montana with higher pressure to the south. That high pressure can be the result of cold air over Yellowstone National Park. Like water flowing down a mountain, the air flows from the high to the low, and the greater the difference in pressure, the faster the wind. But when it reaches Paradise Valley, the narrow passage between the mountains really accelerates the winds.
Just like putting your thumb over the end of the hose, causing the water to rush out faster.
Meteorologists call this a gap flow wind because the wind flows through the mountain gaps. Folks in Livingston call this just another day of the week.
Of course it's going to be windy. It's Livingston. Unless it's 60 miles per hour or more, you really don't need to report it. We know it's going to be windy. If it's not, let us know immediately.
Danbury has a regular job like most people, but his passion is weather, and he loves to chase severe weather, hoping to capture that special photo or video clip. He's a storm chaser, part of the Montana Storm Spotters, a group with a hobby that's not for the average thrill seeker.
The training is very crucial to doing this and being safe about it.
Though he's not a meteorologist, Barry has taken those special classes to make sure he can chase and be safe at the same time. Sometimes it can be unnerving, like the time he got real close to a storm that destroyed some mobile homes near Acton.
It was pretty insane. It pretty much turned on me pretty rapidly, and I was right in the path of it. I tried to get back to Billings. My car got hit pretty good, and pretty scary actually.
But even well-trained meteorologists can get trapped by a big storm. Tim Samaras was a well-respected scientist and tornado expert who was killed May 31st, 2013, along with his 24-year-old son and another member of his team when their chase vehicle was crushed by a monster twister almost 3 miles wide. These incredible storm images can fetch a lot of money from newspapers and TV stations. Montana doesn't have those massive storms that produce high-demand images, so Barry's wallet isn't getting fat from his hobby.
I've had one photo that I've overallowed 52 lightning strikes into a frame. I've sold maybe 4 of those.
What are the absolute need-to-knows when it comes to weathering the big sky? Here they are by the numbers. First, remember that Montana's weather can change quickly. It's important to stay informed, and you can do that by watching the forecast on this station, keeping an eye on our websites and social media accounts. Make sure you have your smartphone set up to get severe weather alerts from the National Weather Service. And think about investing a few dollars in a NOAA weather radio that'll alert you to severe weather in your area. Second, if you're caught outside in a storm, move to the nearest shelter as quickly as you can. The third and final need to know, your safety is most important to us, and we will always interrupt programming whenever necessary to make sure you have the vital weather information to keep you safe from the storm. Thanks for joining our Weather Authority team for this special report. I'm meteorologist Larry Rice. Remember to keep watching this station as we help you weather the ever-changing conditions of Montana's big sky.